Welcome to Building the Billion Dollar Business, the podcast where we dive deep into the strategies, insights, and stories behind the world's most successful financial advisors and introduce content and actionable ideas to fuel your growth. Together, we'll unlock the methods, tactics, and mindset shifts that set the top 1% apart from the rest. I'm Ray Sclafani, and I'll be your host. Well, let me begin with a couple of data points that might catch your attention. Harvard Business Review found that people working in high-trust organizations report 50% higher productivity, 76% greater engagement, and 74% less stress in the workplace than those operating in low-trust environments. The Edelman Trust Barometer adds an important layer. 79% of employees globally say they trust their employer, not their boss, not a specific leader, their employer. That tells us something fundamental. As organizations scale, trust tends to attach to the system, not a single personality. Now, if you're listening to this episode, you already understand how to build trust one-on-one. You've already done that well. That is not the question. The sharper question is this: as your team and firm grow, where does trust want to live next in the client's mind? Because when trust is held only by one person, growth can feel rewarding and still remain more fragile than it needs to be. Before we go further, it helps to name how most advisory teams are built. Some teams grow vertically, with one advisor at the top and an army of support professionals beneath them. Others grow horizontally, with 2 or 3 advisors at the top, each with their own clients supported by shared staff. The problem is the same in both models. Trust concentrates around individuals. Even horizontal structures, clients often live in silos tied to, quote, their advisor. These models are increasingly outdated. High-performing teams have transitioned to interdependent ensembles, teams of advisors working together. Not everyone is a rainmaker, but every advisor provides advice. Investment management, yes, but also estate planning, tax strategy, trust work, risk management, and coordination across these disciplines. To deliver that level of advice, you need teams of advisors and support professionals, not helpers supporting one person. And when this is done well, the client experiences something fundamentally different. When advisors talk about transfers of trust, they almost always mean clients. Well, that makes sense. Client confidence is visible. You see it in retention, referrals, and an expanding wallet share. But in enduring teams, trust transfers in 2 directions. External transfers of trust describe how client confidence expands from a single advisor to the broader advisory team, while internal transfers of trust describe how founders and senior leaders transfer authority, decision-making, credibility, and leadership responsibility to the next generation. These 2 tend to move together. When one moves, the other stays stuck. Tension shows up later. Sometimes as client anxiety or client loss, sometimes as talent loss or turnover, sometimes as a stalled growth curve. Today, we want to focus on the external transfers of trust. In upcoming episodes, we will address those internal transfers and what it takes to maximize success in continuity planning and succession. What I've observed in teams that grow and then scale well beyond the early stage is a clear pattern really emerges. They move from the one advisor model with support staff and a bunch of helpers to a shared advisory model with distinct roles. Lead advisor, senior lead advisor, planning specialist, investment partner, tax and estate coordination, client experience leader or relationship manager. All of this is not cosmetic, it's structural. It's part of an organizational design built to last. And so when clients experience your team as a one advisor plus a bunch of helpers, trust stays trapped. When clients experience a shared advisory model, well, then trust expands. The team becomes the platform of confidence, not a single individual. Here's a quick internal test to know whether you're moving in the right direction. Listen closely for the phrase, my clients. Hang on a minute. Are they truly your clients? Or are they clients of our team? And more importantly, how does the client experience your team? Does trust reside with one individual Or do clients experience multiple people on your team as capable, credible, and worthy of their trust? And do they view them as advisors? Because when trust sits for the client with only one person, the relationship, while it may feel strong for that one person, the team remains more exposed than most leaders realize. Sometimes that exposure comes from pride. Sometimes it comes from care. And sometimes it signals that the team is still operating within a Lone Ranger framework, even if the org chart says team. Clients experience the team the way the team experiences itself. If the internal story is these relationships belong to individuals, well, clients will feel that. If the internal story shifts to clients belong to the team, well, clients will feel that too. And that shift is the leadership work. Clients rarely say this out loud, but they live by it. Well, if something changes, will I still be taken care of? When trust is concentrated with one person, any change can feel risky. When trust is associated with a team and a firm, change can feel like stewardship. This is why that Harvard Business Review trust research really matters. It does not just say trust feels good, it ties trust to outcomes like productivity and engagement. And that tells us how trust forms through repeated experience and reliability. Clients will relax when they experience consistency over time in philosophy, in standards, in decision quality, in the presence of multiple capable leaders and advisors. If you built an elite practice, you likely did it by being central to everything. And that worked, and it may still work. This shift is not about what's wrong. It is about what comes next. As complexity grows, specialization grows. As specialization grows, the team needs a shared definition of trust. Adding another advisor does not automatically change the frame. Trust remains concentrated unless you design for redistribution. That means designing external transfers of trust with intention. The strongest transfers begin well before any visible transition, not because you're leaving, but because you're building endurance. And this is where language matters. You speak with positive intent, you frame the change as a benefit to the client, and you speak to continuity and the long arc. I want to share some language with you that I've heard work well with some of the high-performing teams we coach and how it works well with some of their sophisticated clients. It might sound something like this. We have worked together and closely for so many years, and as our team continues to grow, we're being intentional about expanding our advisory team around you and your family. We want you to build confidence in the multiple advisors and specialists on our team, so as your needs evolve, we can serve you for generations to come. And we're doing this to expand the value we provide and to make that value enduring. I'm not going anywhere, I promise. I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and I'm excited to lead this initiative. But it's what's next for our team and for you as a client. When done well, this is a sign of strength and fiduciary care. I hope that language landed well with you. Please create language and make it your own, and then role play that with the group. Many of the advisors, ClientWise coaches, refers the introduction of additional advisors and specialists into the relationship as the second chair. But that second chair is not a transitional seat. It's a credibility seat. If the second chair shows up as administrative, sits down and just takes a bunch of notes and says nothing, well, trust doesn't move. If the second chair shows up as an advisor, leading parts of the meeting, framing decisions, asking forward-focused questions, and delivering real expertise, real advice, well, then trust begins to expand. Trust is not built by announcement. I mean, you can't say to a client, no, really, you should trust me. And it just sounds increasingly odd when you say to a client, really, you can trust my junior advisor, Joe. No, trust is built over time by consistent experience, and how Joe shows up matters. And for goodness sakes, you never say junior. Who wants to work with junior advisor Joe or junior advisor Jane? This may sound funny, and you may be laughing as you're listening to this episode, but you would be surprised how many times I hear very sophisticated and successful advisors use the word junior in their language. So this becomes a design question. What will clients repeatedly see over the next 4 quarters that makes the second chair feel like a true advisor? How often will they hear your leadership message about building a team designed to serve families for generations? When trust expands beyond one person, you gain stability, scale, and enterprise value. Teams operating under a shared advisory model are healthier than those operating under a hero model. They're interdependent and they act like an ensemble. Enduring teams do not ask clients to trust someone else. They allow clients to experience that trust over time. And my guess is you've already made a few of these transfers successfully. As advisors go through this process, they often describe grouping clients as they introduce others into the relationship. There is a group of clients who become your advocates. They want to know the broader team, and they're eager to share the story of what you're building. One advisor told me that when he introduced his advisory team to his very best clients, one of the clients said, "Well, it's about time. I've been waiting for you to do this so I could start referring my employees your way." And 18 months later, $55 million in new assets, the advisor wondered why he had waited so long. You will also have clients who transition pretty quickly. They're excited to meet all the members of the team. They adapt naturally. We would call these engaged clients. Then there are two other categories, the questionable group and the at-risk group. The questionable clients, well, they need time. They may be skeptical at first or more attached to the first advisor they work with. The work here is experience, letting them see the depth and continuity of the team over time and checking in frequently. That is the first real transfer of trust. If you build the team correctly, meaning there are other advisors on the team who are technically competent, relationally competent, they show up, they perform, they provide great advice. Many advisors are going to serve those clients over many years, so you got to build the team right. That is what built to last looks like. And then there is a small group of clients who will be at risk of leaving. Advisors hear it clearly. Hey, when you go, we go. These clients are deeply attached. And that makes sense. When the relationship began, the advisor sold themselves, not a team. Shifting that reality will be real work. And you may, just may, have to let a few go. About 7 years ago, a Barron's-ranked advisor called me after hearing me speak at one of their conferences. He had built more than $2 billion in assets, one of the best rainmakers I'd ever met my entire career. He also had this army of helpers, no advisors, just him. I was amazed as I got to know him better at what he had actually built and how hard he was working just to keep up. When he ran out of capacity and began building a team of advisors to serve his ultra high net worth clients, the house of cards started to fall. Clients felt handed off. They questioned the quality of advice they were receiving. He had to actually pause growth and deliberately transfer and transition all of the trust to a team that he had just started to build. Well, when we got involved, it became clear that none of his growth had been framed as a client benefit. He had never shared his vision of an enduring advisory team, and he was actually hiring pretty inexperienced professionals for the type of client he was working with. We helped him form a client advisory group. He identified his advocates. He did have a few who understood that if something happened to him, their families would be exposed, so they were supportive of his vision for building this enduring team. So he shared that vision. They helped carry it forward. Within a few years, growth returned, and today, true advisory team, not a group of helpers, real qualified, credible advisors delivering enduring advice to the types of clients who are sophisticated that his firm is built to serve. You didn't build your firm accidentally. You built it by being central, accountable, and responsive. Now that worked. The question is, what comes next? So as we close, I want to leave you with a few coaching questions, not to answer quickly, not defensively, but honestly. These are not about succession. They are about endurance, and they will help you see where trust lives today and where it wants to live next. Please share these questions with your team and see what answers you all come up with. First, where do clients still experience your team through just one central advisor? 2, which relationships would benefit most from broader advisor exposure this year? 3, where does trust still concentrate by habit rather than by design? 4, how visible is your shared advisory model to clients today? In other words, are you using a capability deck in every client meeting? Are you taking 5 to 7 minutes to tell that story of the team of advisors, of the vision of your building an enduring firm? And last coaching question, number 5, what would clients say makes your firm and team stable beyond any one person? Okay, I'm going to share one actionable idea as well with you. Select 5 strategic relationships, redesign the next 2 client meetings so the second chair leads a meaningful segment of the meeting aligned with their technical expertise. Track some of the shifts in client behavior, including who they contact first after the meeting, whose judgment they reference, and how quickly decisions move forward. Well, thanks for tuning in, and that's a wrap. Until next time, this is Ray Sclafani. Keep building, growing, and striving for greatness. Together, we'll redefine what's possible in the world of wealth management. Be sure to check back for our latest episode and article.